Hi, everybody. I see you guys so shady in the live chat. Where's Adam? Probably finding his hat. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the Vanderpump Rules after party last night on Up and Adam channel 2. We had so much fun. That is usually where Jason gets to share a special cocktail or a new bottle of wine or champagne or whatever it is. And he really dives into it. I just ask him the questions and I stay off camera. It's not my thing. I don't usually work after like 3 or 4. I just like to have fun and, and also it doesn't make sense for me to be on camera when I'm doing a recap like this today with one of our great friends who is just absolutely killing it. Ryan Bailey from So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. We're going to recap the entire episode, the premiere episode of Vanderpump Rules season 11. So before we do, you guys know how this works. Go ahead, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And if you were the lucky winner from our podcast giveaway, well, just go over to the community tab because today we're going to be posting the name for that. And yeah, we have like 3 more giveaways that we're doing. So let's welcome Ryan. Hello.
Guys night. We're back. All right. Ali Valley. I live in the valley now.
I don't have, for some reason, let me see. Ryan, this again, Bailey. I was about to say, because I didn't have the names up and I'm like, you are one of the only people that I know who is constantly changing the name on here for YouTube.
Yeah. Wait, by the way, I'm ticked. You say you only work till 3 in the afternoon each day? What?
I start at like, I wake up at like 5:36 a.m. And
I went to bed at 3 a.m. last night. Like, I mean, what is going on? Like, my God. And I was finding my hat too, everybody in the chat. I was actually finding my hat as well. So,
I mean, it's just because, I try, it's like a work-life balance that I'm trying to do. I love this shirt, by the way. I love it. It's a work-life balance though, man. It's like, I have to also, give some time to my family and to like my work, what I'm doing. So I try to sometimes detach. So I give like 4 or 5 hours in the morning. And then after 3, I'm like, whether I need to go out in nature or whatever, I got to do something.
Yeah, I know. I feel, and by the way, you look like you have a lovely tan right now. You look, I look like I'm near death and you look like this is rested and amazing. I mean, wow.
Hey,
I'm going to come live with you guys. Jeez.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you. By the way, I missed you at the premiere.
I missed you too. I thought I had COVID. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on live, but yeah, I thought I was sick. It just wasn't the sick that I thought it was.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. But I will say, I was super nervous, and I think maybe I just made myself sick because I was super nervous about going there and actually being around Sandoval and things like that. Like, I mean, and I saw like it was such a nice event in terms of it wasn't overpacked and things like that. So I was really, I talked to Emily D. Baker yesterday and she was telling me about it and how like Tom went up to her and hugged her. And I was just like, oh, that would have been so weird for me, even though I had FOMO, but it would have been really weird to be around that. And that's because I think we all took it so like it was like sports. Like we took it so personally last season that it would have been weird. I don't know. I kind of have started to stay away from events like that. Like, I don't know if I want to be friends with the cast,
What's wild is I thought about that a little bit too. And I was just telling you, which I've already told people now at this point, I was really debating going because I was supposed to fly to Salt Lake City right after, which I didn't end up doing. But I was like, do I want to go? Because I was only there for 18 hours and it was legit going on from a night of not sleeping. And like I had so much going on here. I had family in town, and then going straight into that, and then straight into the premiere that night. And then the next morning, I flew out at like 6 a.m. But I went with Emily, and it was like go, 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 go. And it was the best time. But when I was there, I said hi to every single person except for Tom Sandoval. I just skipped him because it's
Did he make
awkward.
eye contact with you? Was he like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah, we made eye contact, and like honestly, I sat there and I talked to Lisa probably more than anybody. I was like, and it's funny because every time I see Lisa and Ken, which they're absolutely amazing, it's always like, Adam, where's Jason? And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's at home. And Ken's like, why is he not here? I'm like, he does not work for you anymore.
Why is Jason not here? I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's yes.
Teenager
Yeah.
crazy with Raquel. I can't believe that.
I'm like, no, he does not work for you. And then as soon as I left, Lisa was getting ready to go up and introduce like the premiere episode, whatever the case was. And she's like, where's Jason? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. You know what? I took him out. Done. He's out of
Dude,
here.
by the way, the Ken erasure on last night's episode, they only had him for like a tiny little moment at TomTom. I want Ken stumbling into every scene. Like,
Oh,
I think he was a high moment of last season, and I want more Ken this season, and I don't think we're going to get it.
it's so funny. He actually is freaking hilarious, especially like if you get to have a sit down conversation with him. One of the funniest people I've ever met, and just he has that inappropriate English humor. And it's just like it's great if it's not, I guess, humor against you. I don't know, but I
Oh,
love Ken.
I'd love to talk to Ken with. Like, that's actually the one person I would want a picture with is Ken out of that entire cast right now.
Oh, Ken. Everybody keeps asking me if I've talked to Brob Bros. I don't know. No, I don't. Did you just do something with Brob Bros?
Yeah, I was on their show this week. They're great. There's
Oh,
tons of fun. I love them. They're awesome.
I no, guys. I've never talked to them. I'm sure that they're absolutely amazing. I've heard about them. I heard they're two straight guys. Yeah, two straight guys who
Yeah,
do.
I don't like to label people by their sexual preference, but yeah, I think they're yeah,
Oh,
they're too. No,
I
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, I was about to say, I don't know what's inappropriate and what's not at this
No,
point. But
they're
no.
awesome. They're awesome. Yeah. No, it's funny. I think we were just joking that we were all straight, and then we said, I was like, please don't pass that around though. Like, let's not get that rumor started that we're straight. That's just horrible.
Oh,
Horrible.
geez. Okay. Okay. Beatrice, why skip Tom? People cheat. Get over it. It's not that. It's just I think that when we talk about these people, like for me, it's uncomfortable because I used to work at TomTom, and then
Yeah.
going on and being like, you're a narcissistic douchebag, especially when you're saying that Ariana is being petty for this and she is the one who made you cheat and all of the things. It's like something that I can't really get behind because I think you sound like an idiot, and I'm very vocal about that. So me saying I think you sound like an idiot and then walking up to you and being like, "Hey man, how are you? I hope you're doing great." It
Yeah.
just doesn't align. It looks
Be-
dumb.
yeah, Beatrice, just to like answer, it's not because of the show or it's because I kind of knew him personally on top of the show, and I knew Ariana really, or I do know Ariana really well. So it was like a different level because I was around like Rachel and them at times. And so even away from the show, I was kind of shocked and saddened and disappointed and kind of angry about it because the amount of lying that went into it and even stuff that everybody didn't see.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons where I kind of still was like, and then of course I talk about it all the time that it's just uncomfortable. But yeah, everybody cheats, I guess. Yeah.
No, they don't. Not everybody. Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Speaking of which, if you're not mad about him cheating, as we kick off the premiere episode, you can at least be upset with the fact that you blocked Baby Summer Moon.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, and by the way, obviously, I think everybody knows that he blocked Sheena, and when you block somebody, it blocks all of their accounts, and Sheena started Summer Moon's account. But it is one of the funniest aspects of that for me is to actually think that Tom Sandoval blocked a child. Like, for me, that makes me laugh so much, even if it's not the exact truth, because I was like, couldn't you imagine if that was true? And then they have to have a Summer Moon Tom scene later in the season where Tom's like, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to block. I was just upset, Summer. Like, look at me, dude. Like, I would love if that was like the main beef of the season.
Could you imagine? She's probably like, if one day, like 5 years from now, he had that conversation with her and she's like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, you've changed, dude. Since I was 1 years old, you've changed. And now that I'm 3 years old, you're just so different.
A lot has happened. Now, moving on from that point, I thought it was really interesting and I absolutely loved, even though we don't have, by the way, guys, everybody's rating the episode. Go ahead in the live chat and give us a 1 to 10, 10 being the highest for the episode. But I want to kick off and ask you what your thoughts were about the intros.
It was, it just started with a bang. I find the Tom and Tom one funny at TomTom because you can see this extra in the background with a green dress to the right of Schwartz. And I
Yeah.
just wonder, it's like, you could tell she just like, do not put me in the shot. I don't want to be here. Put me away from these guys. I liked it. It was fun. It was fine. It was fine. I mean, it's a really kind of small cast this season. So the intro goes really fast. And the something about her that I thought was fascinating because it's like, that's the most we're probably like, we'll see something about her, but it's still not open. So I thought that was fascinating of this is what could have been, because I think we're still months away from this thing opening.
Yeah. It's so funny to see too. It's so little.
Yeah. Well, that was my thought when they first had it, because I know that space. And then they had that outdoor seating, which they had to get rid of because of the city of West Hollywood. That's one of the things holding it up. And so it is that, like, and I was just wondering about flow of traffic in terms of like getting a sandwich, like how hard that's going to be for that flow, because especially at first, people are going to want to pop in there. There'll be a line out the door. That's the only thing. And then the SUR of it all, we didn't even see SUR last night. The Peter erasure was wild. We no Peter Madrigal last night, like just counting out waitresses. We just had TomTom, and we
Yeah.
had the TomTom alleyway and not the SUR alleyway. And I was livid. That TomTom alleyway looks very cold and uninviting, unlike the SUR alleyway.
Listen, well, you got SUR in the intro. This is SUR.
Yeah, that's SUR, but I mean, like, Lisa wasn't like, oh, we need to have new dishes. There was none of that. It was all TomTom. And I was like, we need SUR in there somewhere. But I do appreciate that nobody had to act like they were working there. Like, we had no fake working, people. Like, I have to start my shift.
And I'm also happy that they didn't just all of a sudden randomly stick Allie in there.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
like Allie has to start a job. And you're right. I mean, because the old Vanderpump Rules would have put her as a waitress at some point. You're
Yeah.
right.
When I was working with Dana, Kathan, I always say Kathan. Jason says Kathan. When I was working with Dana, she started at TomTom and she was in one of the few episodes with Jax and all the boys in Vegas. And when she was, the producers found an interest in her and then they ended up moving her over to SUR after they hired her for the show. And then she had to pretend like she was working at SUR, and I'm sure she was still working in some capacity, but
Wait, they
that's the
found
only
her
reason
in
that happened.
Vegas? Because I remember her popping up at the Standard Hotel for that one party
Yeah,
before she worked at SUR, but they found her in Vegas?
they
And they
found her in
liked her
Vegas.
so much they had her move down to Los Angeles?
Well, I think that she was already living in Los Angeles, but she happened to be in Vegas at the same time, and then she partied with them, and then they stayed in contact with her, and Lisa loved her because she was just like, I don't give a shit about anything, and she was very Stassi-esque in her delivery.
And now she does a podcast with Katie.
And now she does a podcast with Katie on Nick Vile's podcast, which Nick Vile, by the way, like, man, is he going in on Sheena and Brock right now? It's interesting to see, especially like what a guy to have these people come on and grace your podcast and then go ahead and blast them out. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, I listened to my first episode of his podcast yesterday because of the Toms. And I found it was such a mess because of the Sandoval of it all. But yeah, I find it I don't know. I find that whole thing interesting. And also, it's like a not, there's not really a sense of humor about that podcast, which there doesn't have to be. So it's kind of straightforward, which I appreciate everybody's different styles. But it was interesting having Sandoval come on that thing and then just completely just combust. And Nick, Sandoval should not have done that. He should not have done that.
Well, and it's funny too, because as Sandoval is trying to explain himself and Nick's like, well, tell me more. What it reminds me of Sutton where she's like, name him.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, man, hang yourself further. And Tom just wouldn't save himself. And Schwartz tried to save Sandoval. And I just thought, like, because they recorded that weeks ago, and I just kept thinking, did Sandoval in between realize that didn't come off well and ask him not to release it? Because I almost thought, oh, wow, because of that, the rest of the cast probably got edicts today going, you will not be doing any more podcasts during the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is you know this as well as I do. A lot of Bravo talent, like they have, I mean, not a lot, all of Bravo talent, they have PR in place and they have people who book these things. And if you go around them and you start booking yourself on different podcasts and stuff, you can get in a lot of trouble. Like,
yeah, I'm interviewing a housewife in like an hour and a half, and it's one of those things where you're like, oh, because you got to make sure it's Bravo PR, and then a lot of those interviews they're on obviously with you, the PR, so they're telling you like you got to cut that, you got to cut that. So like Nick is so lucky to have those like wide ranging interviews that he can just release because he's, I guess, at that level. But a lot of the rest of us, we have to play in this field where it is very controlled what they're allowed to talk about. And if they give you something good, that usually has to get cut out.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, the second part of Housewife and the Hustler is coming out.
Are you in that? Are you one of the talking heads?
No, they're playing my videos, but when it first opened, Jason sent it to me this morning. I was at Starbucks getting my 6 shots of espresso.
Taking my shit at Starbucks, Adam. Wow. That's where you take your wow.
I was getting my 6 shots of espresso over ice, and all of a sudden I look at my phone and he sent me the thing from Kiki. Talk of shame, guys. And we absolutely love Kiki, but in the opening of it, you heard my voice say something about like whatever, where they're playing the clip, and I was like, oh, that's fun. Okay. And then they just asked us to do another documentary for something that's coming on with another housewife. So I was like, all right, here we go. Let's play a game. Speaking of playing games, I want to ask you what your thoughts were as we transitioned into Lala having the conversation with her mom in this godforsaken ball pit, but talking about the custody battle that she's having with Randall. She explained that her brother Easton moved into the same apartment building, but with Randall wanted to make sure that Baby Ocean was not going to be on Vanderpump Rules, but he was going to give Lala complete control over education and a few other things. And Lala was like, joke's on you, asshole. I didn't want her to be on Vanderpump Rules. I don't care. And I was like, so then what else are we fighting about? Why do you still have attorneys?
Yeah, I'm curious about that myself. I mean, I don't know why he wants to keep that in litigation, and we all know how expensive that is. So it leads me to believe he's trying to keep it in litigation to like make her go broke. I mean, isn't he already broke as well? I mean, it's a very real situation that she's going through, but it's really interesting. I don't know. The Lala of it all is very interesting. And I think a lot of people were thinking her reaching out to Rachel was a way for her to have a storyline, even though I thought she explained why she was doing that. But yeah, the whole custody thing. And I mean, that's a very dark situation that even Vanderpump Rules couldn't really cover and have it be a part of Vanderpump Rules where it would be entertaining because it is just so dark.
And I also thought too, like, yeah, I agree. And I mean, at the end of the day, the common denominator in that situation is a baby. And I don't know how appropriate that would be. But I think that she has a lot more going on the show. She's one of the few that can hold it without that storyline of her own personal life. And there's a lot of times, like Lisa Rinna was great on Beverly Hills because we never heard anything about her family, really, except for like,
well, we had storylines with the daughters
Amelia.
and like the Amelia Bedelia couldn't live on she had to live on a lower floor because she was scared of heights. Like we did have storylines with them, but it wasn't drama filled storylines for the most part. There was like dark fighting with Harry.
Sauce. Yeah, it was always something, but it wasn't really like a whole lot of anything. That's what I mean. And for this though too, I saw this where Lala was reaching out, and I'm like, this is smart because we know the cast very well, and we know that they know how to operate a TV show. They know that this would make for great TV. And if it makes for great TV while they're all raking in the money from Send It to Daryl, their podcast and everything else, that means that they solidify another season of this TV show. So moving forward, that could be another $600, $700, $800, $900 to $1 million in their bank account. So yeah, if that means that you have to step outside and all of a sudden send a voice note and be like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, like shit. It's like,
I'm wondering if we're going to hear this voice note on Rachel's podcast. Like if she sent this to Rachel, I wonder if Rachel will use this audio in her podcast because now Oh, would you not keep, like, if you are involved in this scandal, would you not keep everything anybody sent you in regards to that cast to be able to, like, not even use down the line, but I think you would just keep it. I don't think you would delete that. No way. I would save that immediately, especially if it was Lala being like, what the hell's going on? And what's so great about, like, the beginning, even though it was like it was a beginner episode, but it's like, we know that all the cast thinks that Rachel is coming back at some point. They're not privy to contract negotiations in terms of trying to get Rachel back. So they're just like, I mean, I think even Ariana's going into this going, when is she back? And that's at the very end. She's like, I know somebody trying to get a foot in the door. There is no foot to be given here.
Yeah.
And, because Ariana thinks that Rachel is coming back at this point, and Lala thinks she's coming back at this point. So you can see where, like, okay, they thought Lala was going to be the connector to Rachel. Then Rachel and Tom, they would have that relationship. They were actively thinking and trying to get her back on this season.
Which is so funny to me because if you go back and you look at everything with Rachel and the way that she said that she was going to go back to normal life and she wanted to help kids, and now she's thrusting herself back into the spotlight. I'm like, what a silly move to do your Rachel Goes Rogue podcast instead of just taking the money and still doing your podcast.
That's the thing. That's the thing, Adam, because I will say I'm not a Rachel apologist, but I will say I appreciate that she's one of the only people in this that went and did long-term mental health care or like actually checked herself in, because I believe Sandoval needed to do that. She actually did that. And then I thought she was just going to go disappear into whatever she wanted to do as a normal person and try to get back to normality. And if she wasn't going to do that, go back on the show and do that. And I understand doing your podcast and trying to make money that way, which is, it can be a good living, but do the show then.
Yeah.
Do the show. Like, it would be so much more powerful if Rachel was in a scene with Schwartz and Rachel going, you knew from the very beginning. You knew the next day after I hooked up with Tom. Like, that would be amazing to have that on film, to actually remind people that Schwartz knew after the first day they hooked up, because Schwartz is like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's crazy. Oh, I feel bad for me. And he was active. Like, that's the funny thing. Even Schwartz doing his shucks act last night. The three of them, Rachel, Tom, and Schwartz, they all plotted to throw the scent off, to make sure that Ariana didn't know. So they engineered the Katie storyline. They self-produced that in a sense. They thought they were being really smart. And I'm sure Schwartz felt bad about it, but he was a part of it. So him saying like, I'm not Sandoval. No, you're not, but you made really bad decisions. So the fact that you keep saying Ariana's an ice queen and you actually were part of that whole thing in a very deep way, that's the thing that I think keeps being forgot about, is that he actively did some really shady shit. And on top of that, he did it at Katie too. He gaslit the hell out of Katie.
I don't know if I feel more bad for Ariana or for Anne. But at this point,
the assistant?
Yeah, the assistant. I feel like for Ariana though too, I think what they're seeing at this point is by the time they're filming this, she's already landing like the Glad trash bag thing and all of these different promotions, sponsorships. She's just absolutely killing it at this point. And I think that they're just bitter because for Rachel to go on her podcast and be like, I didn't go back to the show because I wanted to, like save that stress from Ariana, but instead I'm going to go on a podcast and completely tell a false story. And, and for him to say Ice Queen, and then also for Tom to be like, she's being petty and like this cheating scandal launched her into stardom. It's like, you guys are completely like dehumanizing her.
I get frustrated. I mean, I was like, that's the one thing. I was like doing my recap last night, and then I was taking breaks, and I was like, I went on Facebook and like immediately it was like a wall of Ariana hate. And I was like, God, like I sometimes will just not understand that hatred of like, wait a sec, what are we literally hating here? Like, because she's dancing. She's dancing on a table at TomTom. Like, I think we both know how production works too, is that you're there, you're encouraged to have a good time. You're getting like background shots. Everybody's cheering you because we saw it was a packed house at TomTom. They were all taking pictures of them filming. You do those things and you're encouraged to do those things. And then you're shit on by the audience for doing those things. When I think we're actually, I don't know. That's why I love Schwartz. He's so charming and fun and such a nice guy, and he's fun to hang out with. But at the same time, he's there doing his little aw shucks act. And we, the audience, are made to feel like we should feel bad for him when it's like he still hasn't accepted full responsibility and apologized to Ariana in a very real way. And we're mad at Ariana. Or like, it's like it's just interesting. Like I saw on Facebook, it was like a wall of hate. And then
Yeah.
Instagram, it's not a wall. Like it's interesting how each social media seems to have their favorites.
And I agree with Verb right here, who says the hatred is about success. I thought it was so funny when Ariana was like, I don't think I said anything that bad to Tom Schwartz. And it's like, go
Yeah,
choke on Tom's dirty dick. And I was like, oh my God.
And Schwartz is like, just to be fair, I've never choked on Tom Sandoval's dirty dick. And I was like, oh, that means Tom Sandoval isn't large down there, obviously. He's never had to choke. It's not a chokeable thing.
Okay. Okay. What I mean, all right. My next question for you is how do you feel about Ariana coming out in the premiere episode introducing her new man, Dan?
Listen, Sheena said it on last night's episode. I don't know if Ariana has properly processed her trauma. And I would agree with that, but I would agree with that for the entire cast because what happened was kind of insane. Not what Tom did, but also just the hysteria around it. But I think trauma is one of those things that we all go through in a very different way. I think we both lost parents in the last year. I think we're both dealing with trauma and it comes out in weird ways. And sometimes you need, if you find a kindred spirit out there, like, I don't know. That's the one thing. Life is so weird. And I think when we make our comments, we don't even take into account our own weird lives.
Yeah.
And like she might have needed that. And she might have needed somebody that was away from the Vanderpump situation, that lived on the other side of the country to actually be able to like talk normally again. And I will say, like, I'm curious sometimes, how Ariana is processing that grief, because even if she's on Broadway, even if that at the end of the day, when you're alone in your room or you wake up from a nightmare, you're like, oh shit, like I had no idea that was all going on behind my back. I would imagine it makes it really hard to trust people in the long term anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I just hope, and it doesn't seem like it so far. It doesn't seem like this guy's in a rush to get on this show and be a character, and thank God for that. So it's probably the right thing for her right now, and who knows what'll happen. But I will say, and you probably heard the same. Everybody that has met him in real life says he's just a really nice guy. I wish I had more dirt, but everybody says he's a really nice guy. We'll see.
I think that there's two different kinds of guys on these shows. I think that there's like Jennifer Pedranti from OC had her boyfriend on, and you could tell that he absolutely loved the limelight. He thought he was an honorary housewife. Then you had like Slade, same thing. Brooks, same thing. You have some of these guys who people are dating, and it's like, oh, shit, they just want to be a part of the show. Or some of the girls, and they just want to be a part of the show. And then you have somebody like, I'm just going to throw a name out there like Madison LaCroix, who she has her husband now on Southern Charm. And he's just happy being like, he's like, you were on this pedestal, you were filming, you were living your life. And I just want to support you. And, whatever you need, just let me know. And it's like, it's wild to see the huge difference. And I feel like you can just sniff it out a mile away.
Well, yeah. I mean, Madison's husband just seems like he has this quiet confidence where it's like, yeah, like, I mean, it seems like I said that in my recaps. I was like, it seems like he knows who he is. And I think a lot of us don't know who we are. And that can bleed out into insecurity that really affects a lot of the people in our lives, unfortunately, because some of us, it takes forever to actually grow up or to actually be confident in yourself. And somebody in your comment section, I forgot it, said, Ariana's depression was probably also due to her actual relationship. The thing that was like being picked apart was also probably like internal feelings about like Tom and things like that. I mean, Tom was given a very long leash and being able to go out and party and stuff. And that kind of bit that whole relationship in the ass because he was able to do it under her nose.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it right there. Yeah.
And you know, what's funny, like last night watching Ariana, like go hand in hand with everybody to TomTom and revisiting it since the time of the crime and sitting there and just kind of like processing. I'm sure that was a lot of emotion for her. And it's wild to think there was no reason. It's just like such a production move because they know that this is going to make for great TV. But like, if Tom was going to DJ, why would you not, or not Tom, James?
DJ James Kennedy.
Yeah. Why would you not just have his ass DJ at SUR like he normally does and have all of the girls just meet up and go to SUR? Like, why would you not do that? You know what I mean?
I
It's
mean,
because
yeah.
it's like, oh my God, this is the first time. It makes sense. They're like, storyline.
Oh, yeah,
Storyline.
exactly. I mean, they put these little roadblocks in there for the cast to try to maneuver. It's like a science experiment. And that's another way to watch the show as it gets older of like it's like it's like a golden handcuffs is that it's a social experiment. Like these people are forced to be around each other. I always say, all of us had bar jobs at some point. We weren't locked into being friends with barbacks and bartenders for the rest of our lives. But on Vanderpump Rules, they are locked into having to be around each other. I mean, we're going to even have to see it with Sandoval and Ariana. Like, imagine that. Imagine your partner does cheat on you behind your back for 7 months with somebody that you actually knew closely, and then you have to keep hanging out with them. Like, that's the thing is like people are going to bitch that she doesn't do a one-on-one scene with Tom. But at the end of the day, think about your own lives. You wouldn't do that. You would stay as far away from that person that did that to you as possible.
Right.
And I think that is something that's kind of the interesting way to look at the show behind the show as you watch these episodes.
I I mean, I totally agree. And also with all of this happening, I mean, I get it. You see so many fans who are like, well, you get the paycheck, you sign the contract, it's kind of like you're playing devil's advocate because people go through normal everyday shit in any job that they have. And there's a lot of like hard things that you have to go through. You're just dealing with life or whatever, but you're not getting paid the same. And then you have these people who it's like you get paid to go meet up with each other. You get paid to do all of these things. But then in doing that, us on the outside looking in, it's like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, totally. So I was just looking at one of your comments of saying that Ariana wasn't giving Tom sex. And I think that's so reductive in such a weird way. But we also know that's partly a lie because even on Howie Mandel's podcast, like they did have sex. Like Ariana even said, and Rachel was shocked about that because she was told that they weren't having sex. And then Ariana's like, no, we just had sex. Like we just had sex. Like, so also you can't believe everything that Sandoval says. I mean, he's reverse engineered this. I'm like, she wasn't giving me sex, dude. And it's like, first off, I don't know. Even like listening to Ariana is like, sex isn't just a pull down your pants, let's do this. There has to be some romance involved. And also what Tom says about being belittled in that Nick Viall podcast. If you're part of a 9-year relationship, you are not like it goes through waves relationships. That's part of it. You become a team at times. Sometimes it's hot and heavy and sometimes it's cold as ice, but that's part of a commitment, I would imagine.
I can attest. No, I mean, it's so true. Sometimes you are best friends and sometimes you just like need your space and you want to get away from each other. That's like it. It's funny because anytime that people ask me about Jason and I, and we have now been together for 10 years and it's like, some people are like, oh my God, everything seems like it's so perfect. And then some people are like, you guys seem like you hate each other. And I'm like, it's not either one of those. Like we love each other, we banter. Sometimes people think when we're bantering that we're just being assholes to each other, and it's not true. It's just
it's like a secret language.
It's like a secret language. It's like
yeah.
Sometimes it's just a bitchy banter. Like Jason earlier, I walked upstairs and I gave him his coffee, and he's like, "Where's my ginger ale?" And I was like, get up off your ass and go get your own ginger ale. Like, that is not my job. I don't work for you. And then he's like, are you fucking kidding? I'm laying in bed. And I was like, I'm just kidding. I'll go get you a ginger ale. I don't care. But,
yeah.
It's like, that's okay. Not everybody is going to understand it. And I understand that part about it because I listen to it a lot. But moving on.
Yeah.
Lala speaking with Lisa saying that she wanted to talk to Raquel and reach out because of what she said in the last few minutes. I thought that was totally pre-produced by Lisa. And I think that Lisa pinpointed Lala as the person who'd be able to pull this off, especially because Sheena was just going through the temporary restraining order. She knows Katie Maloney is not going to do it because Katie is opening something about her with Ariana. And the next best person would be Lala.
Well, Katie's also not going to do it because Rachel messed with Katie last season too. Like, everybody once again forgets that too, is that she had that scene where Rachel was like out there in the SUR alleyway of like, talk to me. And, and Schwartz is like, leave us alone. And Katie's like, what are you doing here? Katie doesn't like Rachel for her own reasons on top of Ariana. But yeah, Lala is I guess if you want to call it the weak link, Lala is that person. And you could tell how thrilled Lisa was when she's like, she's like, oh, Lala, you're right. It's amazing. Oh, I'm so happy you said this. Like she seemed thrilled because that really is an in for production. If Rachel were to come back, it writes itself at that point. And
Right.
Lala is encouraged. Like, that's very forward thinking, Lala. Yes,
And she's like, "I'm so proud of Lala to show this growth." And it's like, Lala's like, "I just bought my house in Palm Springs off of your ass. I don't care, girl. You want to have a conversation? I'll send you a voice note. Whatever I got to do, I'll do it." So
Yeah.
send it to Daryl. She even went on her podcast and said the send it to Daryl merch and all of that. And talking about it on her podcast, all of that gave her the down payment for her 1 point whatever million dollar
The
home.
Palm
I think it was
Springs.
Palm Springs,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Yeah. I mean,
wild.
well, that's what I wonder too, is that if any of these cast members are banking on a new catchphrase this season, like they're like, oh, what could because you never know. They didn't go into season 10. They went into season 10 thinking it was going to be the last season. Like
Yeah.
they didn't think it was going to explode like this. So you got to ride that lightning. And that's why everybody started with the podcast. Everybody because there is money to be had for them. But I just wonder how this season obviously is not going to be anywhere near the same. But I wonder if they are counting on it being just as successful as last season financially.
It's also interesting too, because I feel like after speaking with Sonia Morgan at BravoCon, she was telling me that sometimes when they're like the filming situations would get stale in production and be like, guys, we've already spent so much money on getting everybody out here. We need something. She said that if she would get sick of being there or whatever, that she would just sort of go on and throw out like a crazy zinger of a one-liner that she would think of in her head and just like fuck shit up. And that was her way of like, okay, it's a wrap. You got your shot. And like, that's how she stayed relevant in it. So I think it's funny because a lot of people, they're not, at the end of the day, this is a business and it's a game called reality TV. So even though we feel like we're watching their complete real lives, this is a heavily edited version of that. And they know exactly what they're doing, at least the ones who are good enough to stay around, who have the longevity.
Yeah, I think it's just great though to like kind of know that and watch that show with that lens, because you can see where they're almost trying too hard sometimes, like the Housewives or Vanderpumpers, and it's like, just let things happen. But it's not a documentary, it's a reality series. And also I thought in terms of Lala making that voice note and then at the very end having that very serious conversation with Ariana of like, sometimes I don't feel like you let me in sometimes. And then she's like, okay, great conversation. And in keeping with that note, I do have to let you know, I reached out to Rachel. Like, I love that it was like this scene about, I don't know if you trust me sometimes, and then going, and Ariana going, no, I totally do. I totally do. And then going, hey, by the way, I did reach out to Rachel. I thought that was the biggest 180 that I was like needle drop, record scratch. It was so uncomfortable because I was like, this is exactly why she keeps you at arm's length sometimes. I mean, we've seen Lala, they've been close at times. Then we've seen Lala say a lot of things about Ariana over the years. And
they talked about eating cookies.
Yeah, they hooked up with each other, and then Lala kind of went against her in some fashion. And I think that's the trepidation that Ariana has with Lala, are moments like that, because even in that scene, Ariana goes, let's be core four. Let's just bond together in sisterhood. And then Lala does this, and it goes against what Ariana was just saying. But Ariana took it well. And I think Lala, I do believe there's like truth to certain things that Lala says. I mean, Lala had to come out last night and said, listen, at the end of the day, when I was being called a home wrecking whore, all of these things, at the end of the day, I can't argue with it. It's true. Like, she had to admit that it's true. It took her years to actually be able to say that on camera. And she does understand what Rachel went through in a different way than the rest of that cast.
You know what else is wild to me too is in the moment, like going back to Katie for a second, you have Sheena who's talking to Katie about like, I'm sorry. Katie was like, you literally took my relationship information. You weaponized it against me. You used it as a storyline. You took it to Tom Schwartz to have something to talk about. And I was confiding in you and you manipulated that, is pretty much what she was saying. And Sheena had to sort of bite the bullet and be like, I am sorry and I'll never do that again. And I was like, great move on you, Sheena, because one of the best things that a reality TV person I feel like could do is just understand if you're wrong, you got to own that shit. Like in the words of Lisa Rinna, own it,
Well, yeah, and it's the first episode. So it's good that Sheena agrees right now, because then it gives us somewhere to go if Sheena totally forgets that and does go against Katie in some way. Like, you want to start where there's agreement with a lot of the cast. You want to start kind of in this place. And so right now we don't have Ariana talking with Schwartz, lives in a house with Sandoval, but won't directly communicate with her. So you need Sheena and Katie at this moment to get along. Like, that's also a relationship that we really haven't seen work effectively because they've had so many fights throughout the 11 seasons. So it is going to be interesting potentially to see them try to make nice.
Ay, ay, ay.
Guys, let's hit that like button. Let's hit the like button.
Yes.
Let's get it up to 200. Come on.
All right. Also, I know I'm so into this conversation. I haven't even been trying to encourage anybody. Guys, smash the like button. But
I don't even really know what that means, but I saw people in the comments saying it. So I want to make sure the thing gets hit. Yeah.
They have like a new thing on here on, I don't know. Are they doing it anymore? I don't know. Anyways, I thought it was really funny to, oh yeah, there it goes. You could do like hearts, and then all of a sudden it makes hearts.
Here's Rachel's face with a heart on it.
It's saying no to that. It just said no. It said absolutely not. Okay. But then when Tom is like, Katie, do you think that you could talk to Ariana for me? And she's like, what the? And I'm like,
yeah. Are you? Katie's like, you're not my responsibility anymore, dude. Like, you talk to Ariana. Like, but even Katie does actually end up saying it at dinner. But you're right. Like, he's like, oh, Ariana. I mean, she won't be like. He knows exactly why she won't. I mean, I love when people make the right decisions for themselves and their boundaries, and then other people just can't seem to understand it at all.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting there thinking too, what happened to you, man? Why do you have a tank full of bugs? Like, what?
Yeah.
What part of life, like, did divorce just like kick you in the ass?
Well, this also reminded me of Schwartz having Dog the Lizard. Remember Dog the Lizard's funeral in season 8 or 9? And I was like, no, let's not bring any insects or, he has the dogs, but let's not, like, insects and reptiles don't do well around Tom Schwartz.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he has like a whole apartment full of, it looks like, what are those plant farms called?
Yeah, like arboretums or like, I mean, but yeah, it looked like way too many plants in one location.
There was a lot happening. Tom Schwartz,
yeah.
We're going to need you. And then we're about to get Dad Bod Ken is what Lala called him.
And then I love when he brings DJ James Kennedy a plant and he's like, oh, I got you a plant. And also this candle. And then being guys, they're like, oh, it smells like citrus puss. Yeah. All right. But I love back in the day, this would have been men in their 20s, like passing a joint around. And he's like, hit this, dude. And it's just a candle. Like, I thought that was actually kind of funny, is that men, as they grow up, they do get into more of like homey things. And,
yeah.
He was like, no way. You got me a candle. Oh, a scent. I love it.
Jason and I were just talking about this yesterday because Jason went to Costco and he got a bird feeder and we hung it up outside and we were so excited because we filled it with bird seed and we're like, oh my God, the birds are gonna, and I said to Jason, I said, are we getting old? Like, why are we?
No, you do. It's those creature comforts as you get older and you realize, oh, this is actually kind of nice. I think the actually stress of life, you actually do need those things as the decades pass.
Yes. Amy said, woo, Ryan. Yes.
I think I know this Amy. Hopefully. Hi, Amy. If that's the Amy I know. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she's overseas, but I think.
Well, as we go through the season, Ryan, what are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to Tom coming back. And the only thing about the Vile podcast that I really was disliked was that it almost is like a spoiler alert of, oh, Tom has not really learned that much yet at all. So I was kind of thinking we're going to go for this redemption season. We're going to see him really face a lot of things. We're going to see him understand the pain that he caused, not somebody else caused, that he caused. And then listening to that Vile podcast, I was like, oh, he hasn't. He's like angrier than ever. He's still that angry. And so I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to Tom, trying to see how he maneuvered through this and if he had any real recognition. And now I guess I'm just kind of excited to see how they deal with when Rachel isn't coming back, how they deal. It's somebody made this for me. It's like a Scandival sweatshirt. So it's like it's like Tom's apology from Instagram, the short, like you have all of these little moments from Scandival. And I guess she just put that as the big one. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see how they deal with Rachel not coming back. I'm excited to see Ariana refuse to film with Tom. I'm excited to see Anne, Tom Sandoval's assistant, like if she's made to glue any more penis flutes back together. I mean, there's like little things. I'm also, no, you know what? I really am curious how DJ James Kennedy fits into this season because, like, does he completely behave himself? Does he ever cut loose and lose it like he has in previous seasons? There's a lot of DJ James Kennedy
yelling at Tom.
You would see him yelling at Tom, but I'm curious if there's anything interpersonal. Like, he has been a bad boy in a lot of the past seasons. Has he completely cleaned up his act? Does he have any falls from grace? Like, that's another thing I'm curious about. I'm curious to see how Jax Taylor gets integrated because then eventually they're premiering The Valley right after Vanderpump Rules in March. So they're going to have to jam him in some way. We're going to see that conversation between Jax and Tom Sandoval. And, the thing I'm not excited about is that I need the cast to chill out on talking about the season that they just filmed so we can actually be surprised by some things.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I think that I just want to see a kick-ass season where we feel like at the end of it, we're not saying goodbye to the cast, because I think that, like a lot of people want that old school Vanderpump Rules where we get them still working and doing the things in the restaurants, but I like to see them evolve. And I feel like out of anything that we've really seen on Housewives, especially when they try taking out somebody who's such a staple to the franchise and bringing in somebody new, normally the fans don't really care as much unless it's like Monica Garcia, who just like knocks shit out of the park. And then she's polarizing because she's so good, she's bad.
Well, she's polarizing, but Adam, there is a credibility issue that she has to like still argue against. Like you can't argue these things. Like, and Monica, I mean, not to skip over, but like that reunion thing, you can't just like shut down. You actually, and you had months to prepare. You should have prepared better. It's a golden opportunity. And Heather Gay, she had prepared. Like, I believe Heather Gay plotted a lot. I mean, I have very interesting opinions about this, but Monica should have come with a better performance instead of what she did do. And I've been a Monica defender from the beginning of this season.
I agree. All right. Well, with that, Ryan, as always,
that's it. Oh my God. Listen, I'm used to going for like hours on my show. So I'm shocked.
We're not going to, you have a housewife interview. You have another recap that I know that you're doing today.
Well, by the way, this is great. While you were doing this, I'm going to do Sheena's podcast later on today.
I was going to have
Sheena was texting me during this, and she just said, please tell me you or Kiki listen to the Toms on Nick so I don't have to. So I think we're going to be talking about that on Sheena's podcast later.
I was actually going to have you and Kiki on at the same time, not knowing that you guys were both doing Sheena's, because I asked Kiki too, and she's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I said, are you cool doing it with Ryan? And she's like, oh, well, we're both doing Sheena, so maybe I'll do it next week with you then, so it's not the exact same thing. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. But honestly, Sheena, like great minds think alike, girl. So, But if they don't know, oh, and also, do you remember Gina Marie, the spiritual medium from New Jersey?
Yeah.
So I had the craziest reading with her last year. She hit everything head on, and she even told me some things that nobody ever knew. And Jason said for his birthday, which is not until July or June. My birthday's in July. His is June 23rd. He said, I would love to just do a reading with her. So I messaged her and she's like, I'm booked out for 2 years, but if you are available this Wednesday, I'll do it with you. And I was like, okay. So right after this, we're going on to do our spiritual reading.
Oh my God. I get so scared about things like that. Like, I mean, it's like, you never know what you're going to find out.
I know. Last time it was my friend who came through, and I was like, I like left and I'm like, I need to go exercise or something. So I can't wait for the emotional roller coaster that's about to ensue. But, I love shit like this. So
it's amazing.
But if they don't know where they can find you, Ryan, will you let them know?
Yeah, it's So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey, the podcast. I just released a 2-hour line by line Vanderpump Rules premiere recap. The
Jesus.
second part of the episode has the Nick Viall recap on it. If you do not want to listen and just go through the transcript with me, those are both out there. The Instagram is So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey, and the YouTube, where we put up videos of the recaps and some of the interviews. We just had your friend Emily D. Baker on Tuesday, and the Vanderpump Rules recap is up there as well. So we're not up and at 'em live, but we have a little tiny engine, Maritza Lopez, that works with me, puts all
Okay.
my videos up and stuff like that. So yeah, go check out all of that. But if not, thanks for listening today. Thanks for being here, and
Hey,
smash
Ryan.
that like button.
Smash that like button, guys. Again, we gave away our special giveaway. We announced our winner last night, so go check that out. We will be posting it in the community tab today, and then we are giving away a lot more. I think we're doing a Rose Forever, whatever you guys want from the website. I think we're doing Disney tickets. Jason has like a roster, so
Wait,
just
can I win the Disney tickets? Can I
listen. You can enter to win. It's fair game. I'll talk to Jason. Just enter in to win. But Ryan, I love you, man, and it's so great to catch up with you.
Great to be back. Thanks for everybody that's here.
Yes, I'm gonna drop you down for 2 seconds, and then I'm gonna talk to you backstage.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So make sure you go check out So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey anywhere you get your content, whether it's on podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, social media, all over the place. He delivers constantly the best content, has incredible interviews and fantastic guests, and he's always guest appearing. I think that's how you say that, on other people's channels, podcasts, and so on and so forth. So I love you guys. I don't know what the rest of the week looks like, but I'll keep you posted in the community tab, and we'll see you so very soon. Bye, guys.